Hi, and welcome to a short instructional video brought to you by Americolor and the Dyers Guild on how to full room dye your carpet. Full room dyeing is a great alternative to replacing your carpet because in full room dyeing you are going to color the entire carpet a new color. One of the first important things to realize and know about full room dyeing is that you can only dye your carpet darker. Dyes are translucent, therefore they're always going to be going what is underneath. Therefore, if you're trying to cover up stains of any kind on your carpet, you're going to have to actually dye the carpet darker than those stains because again, dyes are translucent and you can only dye darker. Also, another important thing to note about full room dyeing is that you're going to have your carpets cleaned just before you attempt dyeing your carpet. The carpet needs to be clean and wet before applying the dye. If you try to put dye on a dry carpet, you're going to be in a heap of trouble. So make sure that you rent a carpet cleaner to come in and clean the carpet yourself, or actually just get a professional to do it and do your dye job right after him. Now, you're going to need a couple different tools for your full room dye job. Of course, you're going to need dye. And right here we have 5th generation carpet dye made by Americolor in a medium brown. A very, very important chemical called one-step dye prep. One-step dye prep includes a dye prep catalyst, and it also includes a pH adjuster. Two very important chemicals when dyeing your carpet. It helps with leveling out the dye to the fiber, and also it helps with adhering the dye to the carpet fiber itself. So a very important chemical to use. Two additional chemicals you might want to consider would be bleach neutralizer if you are covering up a lot of bleach spots on your carpet, and liquid dye remover just in case you go too dark in some areas of the other. Maybe this is your first dye job, or maybe you just make a mistake, or maybe you just like having an eraser around. Anyway, additional products are available. The most important though with your dye job is the actual dye and the one-step dye prep. Other things you will need to do this dye job is a pump-up power sprayer. You could use one as small as this. You could use a backpack pump-up power sprayer, which I'll actually be showing in the video. Or you could use a professional carpet cleaning machine to apply the dye that way with a spray wand. That's how professionals use our products. But you too could rent a carpet cleaning machine yourself and spray it on that way, or go with another method like this. I think it just depends on how big of an area you're planning to dye. You certainly don't want to do a 2,000 square foot room with this. The other things that you're going to need are extremely hot water. Hot water is vital to dyeing with acid dye, so your water is going to have to be as hot as possible. It might be beneficial for you to have a bucket heater as well so that you can keep that dye at optimum temperature. A 5-gallon bucket is always handy so that you can mix up the dye, look at the color, and of course a mixing spoon as well. So this is the room we're going to dye. We have a white to beige carpet and we're going to dye it a medium brown. One of the first important things to think about before dyeing your carpet is how much dye and chemical you're going to need for your dye job. For this particular room we have a carpet that's 11 by 12 feet. 11 times 12 is 132. We're going to divide that number of total square footage, in this case 132, by 50. Because for every 50 square feet, we're going to need 1 gallon of dye bath. For every 1 gallon of dye bath, we're going to need 1 ounce of dye at full strength and 2 ounces of one-step dye prep. Therefore, for this particular dye job, we're going to need just a little less than 3 ounces of dye and 6 ounces of one-step dye prep. Now let's go mix up our dye and chemical to put it on the carpet. Okay, so now we're actually going to mix up our dye and chemical into our 5-gallon bucket before putting it into our pump-up power sprayer. We have our medium brown dye and our one-step dye prep. Now, an important thing to note is that the one-step dye prep, like we just talked about, we need 6 ounces of it total. 3 ounces of that, so half the amount of the chemical you need, we're actually just going to put with water and pre-spray onto your freshly cleaned carpet. So again, half of that amount of chemical is going to be pre-sprayed onto the carpet before dyeing. So in between carpet cleaning and in between dyeing. Alright, let's mix our dye together. So we'll first start with our extremely hot water. For this example, we have 3 gallons of extremely hot water. The first thing you want to do is add your one-step dye prep. Again, we're going to add half the amount we need. Half the amount we need for this example is 3 ounces. There are 2 tablespoons in every ounce, so therefore we're going to add 6 tablespoons of one-step dye prep before we get started. So 3 ounces total. 5 and 6. We're going to take our large mixing spoon and mix up that one-step dye prep. You'll see that it almost gives the water a soapy look. That is a good thing. Now for the fun part, we're going to add our dye. As I mentioned, you can add up to 1 ounce of dye per gallon of dye bath. You do not want to exceed that amount. Anything over 1 ounce of dye per gallon is going to be way too much dye, and it's not going to penetrate into the fiber. So you can of course go lighter. It just depends on what color you want your carpet to be at the end. So do run a carpet sample first. Start light, see how that color looks on the carpet before you commit to making up the dye. And again, if it's too dark of a color, add more water. If it's too light, just add more dye. So it becomes a fun kind of creative process to make it exactly the color you want. So for this example, I am going to use full strength dye. And again, full strength dye is 1 ounce of dye per gallon. So we have 3 ounces total of dye in our 3 gallons of water. So this is a full strength dye bath of medium brown. Again, our water is extremely hot, so this dye just gets dispersed into the water evenly. Now that we have it good and mixed up, let's quickly put it in our pump up backpack power sprayer so that we can spray it onto the carpet. Alright, now we're going to pour our dye into the pump up power sprayer. Okay, now we are almost ready to apply. Our carpets have been cleaned, our pre-spray has been put on the carpet so the carpet is good and wet. Our dye is mixed up, and in our hefty power sprayer backpack we have our wall shield in place, and we have a carpet rake. It's really important to rake the fibers of the carpet while the dye is still hot so that that dye gets penetrated into the carpet and you get a successful dye job. Alright, let's begin. Alright, so now that we have sprayed on the carpet dye and raked the carpet fibers, we've also extracted to take up any of the excess moisture and dye left in the carpet. And now we're done. We're just going to allow for normal drying times. If you have any questions about what we went over, do request a detailed manual going through all the steps and formulas for color combinations, how much dye and chemical to use, and cleanup procedures as well. Look at our website to look at all our color choices, dyersguild.com, and give us a call if you have any questions. We look forward to taking your order.